When Ben moved into his new apartment, he noticed something odd. The vents were larger than usual, big enough for a person to crawl through. The landlord said the building was old, built in the 1950s, and not up to modern code. Ben shrugged it off. Cheap rent was cheap rent. The first night he heard it, a faint shuffling inside the vents. Probably rats. He made a mental note to buy traps. The second night, the noise came again, but louder. A dragging sound. Then, just as he was drifting off, "I see you!" Ben shot up, heart hammering. The voice was raspy, barely more than a breath. He grabbed his phone and shined its light at the vent above his bed. Nothing. The next morning, he called maintenance. The guy laughed. "No one's been in those vents for years around," he said. "Not since the..." He stopped, shaking his head. "Forget it. Just your imagination." That night, Ben couldn't sleep. He kept staring at the vent. At 3:12 a.m., the cover creaked. Slowly, it slid open. Ben froze. Two pale fingers curled around the edges of the grate. Then a face, stretched too long, its mouth grinning unnaturally wide, peeked through. Its eyes were black pits. "I knew you'd look." Ben scrambled back, reaching for his phone, but the screen was dead. The vent rattled as the thing began crawling out, its limbs bending wrong, joints popping. He ran for the door, but the lights flickered and died. In the darkness, he heard it drop to the floor. Soft, slow breathing. Right behind him. The last thing Ben felt was cold fingers wrapping around his throat. Then silence. The apartment was listed again the next week. Cheap rent, no pets, do not open the vents.